Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
Hello, everybody. Dennis Gebhardt here with Guru Nation, and welcome to Rabbit Trails. For those of you that are joining us for the first time today, let me tell you a little bit about this program. We are a program that seeks out or hunts down the truth in the world of hair color today, because we know that there's tons of information out there in the industry, but it's not a lot of it that's really accurate. And of course, to help me today here is my friend and colleague from Boston, Massachusetts, Max Masano. Max, how are you, brother?
I'm freezing. It's minus 13 here with the wind chill.
Oh, baby.
And we're getting 18 inches of snow tomorrow.
That's pretty cold, man. I'll tell you. I'm a California boy, so to me, cold weather, my jacket is a windbreaker.
Right.
You know, so yeah. I remember when my wife and I were dating, she lived in Chicago. And the first time I went to Chicago was in the winter time. And she said, "Do you have a winter jacket?" And I said, "Well, yeah, sure. I've got a winter jacket." She goes, "No, I mean a long coat." And I go, "Yeah, I've got a long coat. I mean, I had a long leather coat, right?" Well, let me tell you, when I arrived in Chicago, it was like 50 below zero with the wind chill factor. And when I walked outside, it was like that leather coat became like my skin. And I froze to death. So yeah, I like social snow where you drive to it and you play in it, and then you get in the car and you drive home. And you know, because most people who don't live where there's lots of snow, they don't know what it looks like 3 days after you have that beautiful white snowfall, and you have to function in it. So I'm sending you warm vibes from beautiful California. You. Okay?
Yes.
Great. So are you ready to go on our journey today, man?
I mean, I'm always ready.
Well, for those of you that know anything about this program, or you've seen some of our previous episodes, you know that we don't really shy away from talking about it. We put it all out there. And we want you to understand it's not our desire to, to make fun of anyone or to be condescending or, contradict anything that you believe or that you've learned, but it is our goal to provoke your thought process. So what we share with you is just the facts, and it's up to you to make your decisions. Now, you'll see me probably get a little heated today because it's sort of like Groundhog Day for me sometimes. It's like, I think we just get a question resolved and then it shows back up again because of misinformation. And I'm not saying that people purposely want to misinform or deceive you, but we have to be diligent in this business if you truly want to find the answer. The answer's out there. You can work for it. And I always believe in earning my knowledge, because when I earn it, I own it. And so Max and I will say to you, every one of you today, don't believe anything we tell you. You do your own research. You test it yourself. But we definitely are going to call out things that we see that are happening that are causing a challenge for people who are really trying to achieve mastery in hair color. And that means if you're a hairdresser and you're sharing misinformation, I'd suggest that you get the accurate information and share it. And especially if you're an educator and you're watching this episode today, you have a responsibility. That responsibility is to tell the facts. Don't put your own spin on what the facts are. Tell them just like they are. That's what a true person who's dedicated to education will do. Remember, it's not about you as the educator or the trainer. It's about the information you deliver. Does it transfer, and does it empower the salon professional you shared it with so they can achieve success? Max, what do you think about responsibility as an educator?
I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's just, again, knowing and owning your information and conveying the correct information.
Yes.
So that, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're really trying to do is bring about greater understanding of whatever subject we're teaching as educators, you know. So for us, it's hair color.
Right.
And, you know, science is science. And that's kind of,
It is.
you know,
And,
it doesn't
that's
change.
that's why we call it rabbit trails, right? Because,
Mhm.
you know, you get one little piece of misinformation, it sends you off down a rabbit trail. And sometimes it's hard to find your way back if you don't have a GPS. So we're trying to give you the GPS so that you can find your way back on track. So today, our whole focus in this first segment especially is talking about what we call acceptable truths. Now you're wondering, well, what is an acceptable truth? So because this was the term that Max shared with me yesterday as we had a pre-program meeting. So Max, when I say to you acceptable truth, what is that? How would you define that to somebody?
I mean, the way that I define an acceptable truth, it is basically like a key claim, usually that a manufacturer will make, that may not actually completely be
Max, you're back.
Man, I think
What happened?
I think we're being bugged, Dennis. Somebody doesn't want us talking.
You know, I think so. Boy, I'll tell you. But it's pretty scary because they froze you and then they interrupted us. And I'm going, wow, Big Brother must be watching.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So my last question to you, my friend, was when you define an acceptable truth, how do you define it? Let's try again.
All right. So an acceptable truth is a statement made by a manufacturer normally that kind of is kind of true, but might kind of be stretching the truth a little bit. But basically, you know, the thing that you guys always need to remember is the thing about product companies is they want to sell more product, right? So every product has to have a story of what makes it unique and gives you key points of difference. And that's kind of where these acceptable truths come in.
Right.
You know, and I think one of the sort of longest standing acceptable truths out there is, you know, acidic demi-permanent hair color.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. And you know what? I kind of feel responsible for that because back in 1986, before many people in this industry that are now in this industry were born, we approached acidic color. And we created a color that to this date, you know, over 40 years later, is still the number one selling demi-permanent color in the world. It is still the benchmark that many people use when they build their own acidic color. The unfortunate thing about that is that the whole story wasn't really told. So here's just what science says. If you have a bottle or a tube of color, whether it says it's acidic or not, and it has oxidative dyes, that means you have to mix it with some sort of a developer. That product is an alkaline product in the bottle or in the tube. That's a fact, period, because oxidative dyes must be stored in an alkaline base because that's where they live. So when I mix a color with peroxide, which is acid, there is some variation that once they are exposed to acid or to acidity, they start to develop. So those diintermediates start to develop. So the story that was told back then and has continued is that when you mix a activating solution with a demi-color, the activating solution brings the demi-color to a pH of close to, or in some cases, people claim to be lower than a pH of 7, because we teach in our industry that 7 is neutral, but 7's really not neutral. 7 is a balance point, meaning that everything above 7 and everything below 7 has some alkaline pieces to it.
Right.
Everything below 7 and everything above 7 has some acidic pieces to it. So 7 is just basically the balance point. And in any case, the hair's optimum pH is 4.5 to 5.5. So even something with a pH of 7 will swell the hair. Will swell the hair. So most of these colors that were developed to become acidic colors, because we consider acid to be more gentle than alkaline, which I find insane, because if you know how some of these acid products work, they are not gentle at all. I always say, to show you how aggressive acid is, take 2 little cups and go buy ammonia. You can buy it in the store. Pour ammonia in 1 cup, pour peroxide in the other cup. Peroxide's an acid. Take your fingers, stick both fingers, 1 in each cup, and hold them there for as long as you can. When you pull them out, the one that you had in the ammonia, it may burn. It may have a little pain. There might even be some blood, right? But the one that was in the peroxide, the acid, the gentle one, you can literally take your flesh around your fingernail and you can peel your flesh off your finger.
Ouch.
That's what some acid products do. So acid doesn't mean it's gentle. It just means that it's a lower pH. Basically, that's it. So we were always taught acid constricts, alkalinity swells. So we were finding a way to where we could mix a color with oxidative dyes with a peroxide or a developer of some sort and process as close to the neutral pH as possible. And we did that. But that didn't make it a conditioning color.
Right.
That made it a color that still would swell the cuticle. And on some hair textures, like fine hair, you'd still create tonal shift, but you couldn't see it at the initial color application. You did see it when they came back because there was a slight line of demarcation.
Right.
You know,
And I mean, I think that the thing to keep in mind too is that you actually want to swell the hair if you want to get color inside of it, right?
it's the only way to do it.
Right. You know, and that said, maybe not all demis are created equal.
They're
and
not.
Some
You're
might
right.
have a higher pH than others.
Mhm.
And that's where, you know, you as a hairdresser, you know, can get out your, you can get a little pH gun on Amazon. You can buy nitrazine strips and test what you're working with.
Right.
Recently, I, you know, wanted to do this myself, and I took a bunch of different what were claimed as acidic demi-permanent colors, and I found one that actually, when it was mixed with its developer or activating solution, yet another acceptable truth, by the way.
Yes.
A color energizer or what, it's developer, you guys.
Yeah.
It's developer. Hydrogen peroxide. It isn't secret
Right.
sauce.
Right.
But it processed at a 7.0,
Okay. And
which
that's
is the lowest that I've ever seen. But that's
Right.
still higher than 4.5
Right.
to 5.5.
and one out of how many? How many would you say? 5, 6? Did you try?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One out of how, and these were all promoted as demi-permanent hair colors. That's why people say, well, demi-permanent doesn't last as long as permanent. Yes, it does. It's permanent hair color, for God's sakes. Stop the insanity.
Right. Where's Susan
You know?
Powter?
Yeah. So acceptable truth is there's very few colors that would qualify as an acid color, period. No hair color, permanent hair color, a permanent hair color, none of those can be brought down to that many steps on the pH scale to become a demi. So if you have a secret solution to transform your permanent color into a demi-permanent color, how's that work, Max?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Dennis. I was, cruising around the Instagram, and I saw a particular kind of a new color manufacturer talk about a product that magically transforms your permanent color into demi-permanent color. And
Amazing.
because I am a little crazy, I did write down the key claims, and it says, converts permanent cream color into demi-permanent color, saving space and offering versatility. Just add a few drops of our magical color transformer.
Did they use the word magical?
Swear to God, magical color transformer to your permanent cream hair color mixture to instantly convert it into a glossy demi-permanent hair color. This revolutionary product reduces the pH of your mixed hair color, enabling achievable tone-on-tone match, saving salon space, and offering more creative service options. So, all right, so let's take part of these statements and just talk about them for a minute. Now, when you mix color with any developer, the pH is reduced a tiny bit, right?
A tiny bit.
Mixing an acid with an alkaline. So there's acceptable truth number one in this.
Right.
They're saying it does this. Well, you guys, developer does it too. And when I went through the ingredient deck, there were about 10 different ingredients in this product. And they were basically all, moisturizers. And the very last ingredient, which means it's the least amount in the whole mixture, was something that is used to regulate the pH. So I still went into it with an open mind, right? I'm like, all right, well, let's see what this does.
Sure.
So I checked the pH of the actual additive, which was 2.3. And I bought a tube of their level 9 violet, which the pH of that was 11.3. When I mixed it with, I know, right? When I mixed it with developer, the level 9 violet, it did drop it down to a 10.9. So we see that the developer actually did reduce the pH a little bit. And then I added the additive to the mix, and it brought it down to 10.1, which is actually still in the range of permanent hair color. Because, isn't permanent hair color something like 9.3 to
10.0, usually nothing around 11. 11 is pretty harsh. But what can I tell you? Yeah. So you can see that these acceptable truths aren't always accurate. And here's another thing that you have to keep in mind when they say you can add this magical solution. I can't believe they use that terminology, to a color and convert it. Certain dye intermediates are designed to develop at a specific pH. That means that when we're building a color, the pH of the dye intermediates that I'm using are specific to that color. And so when you do what I call acid shock it, you can also change the color, the hair color itself.
Right.
In fact, just hold on for about a minute here, and I want you to watch this next video, and it's going to show you what happens when you take an acid, lemon juice, and you add it to a 7-level copper blonde. Okay, so check this out. We'll be right back. All right, so what do you think about that? Pretty interesting, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, man.
And so that should drive this information home for you, that, you know, do what you wish, but understand what you're working with. You know, we use the word demi when we're not really using a demi. We're using the word, you know, change the pH when we're just barely scratching the surface of adjusting the pH. But you either, in this industry, you have to believe what they tell you or test it yourself. Most people, we just buy in. We are the biggest, God, we are the biggest schmucks sometimes. We buy into whatever they say. I tell you,
I mean,
it's crazy.
we want to believe, right?
We
Like,
do. We do.
It's like, you know,
Right.
who doesn't want the next, you know, innovative
Of course.
thing?
Right.
You know, that's gonna change our industry.
Right.
You know?
But I remember years ago when we were doing all of the super lightning in the 80s or in the early 90s, the super lightning with all these different lightener products.
Mhm.
And this one company, they would teach you that you were harnessing the rays of the sun.
I know what you're talking about.
And what you were doing is actually you were painting tempera paint on your bleached hair. So tempera paint was only there for a couple of hours and it would wash away because it's tempera paint, for God's sakes. So it was a craziness. So acceptable truth is something you have to be aware of. You have to really be concerned about in this industry. Use your due diligence on that. I see things that misinformation a lot of times. You know, there's been a big issue lately on Instagram and on Facebook about the terminology and how it catches on. So like, you know, when we talk about positioning what in a color process, which one is the most effective or the most impactful, we try to get people to understand that ammonia, that comes from your color, ammonia or alkalinity sets up the environment, and then it allows peroxide or developer to release oxygen to do the job it's designed to do. And so from that came the rule, the lift is in the tube. And so that's what everybody was saying. Well, the lift is not actually in the tube. Okay, that creates the environment. Peroxide is in fact what lightens the hair, but it will only lighten the hair in relationship to the alkalinity you expose it to. What do I mean by that? The more alkalinity and the more consistent the alkalinity is. So more alkalinity, and the longer the alkalinity lasts, the more oxygen peroxide will release. So you can expand the release of oxygen from peroxide by simply placing it in a environment where there is more alkalinity for a longer period of time. So that's really what's happening. So now we have people coming back saying, ammonia is irrelevant in the color process. Well, that's nonsense. Ammonia or alkalinity is essential in the hair color process. Without alkalinity, you could do nothing to the hair.
Right.
You could take virgin hair, clip a piece off, put it in a dish, pour 20 volume peroxide on it, go to lunch, come back, nothing would happen to the hair strand because the hair strand is intact. It's not been exposed to alkalinity, which would swell the cuticle and expose the pigment. It's not been exposed to heat, which would, cause it to activate more aggressively. The hair's not been exposed to being weathered outside, which would expose some of the melanin in the hair because the cuticle becomes abraded. None of that's happening. So again, that's misinformation that once you get people straight on the path with their GPS, and along comes somebody else and they knock them off the path.
Right.
And so I get all of these all of the time. And, I just did a post the other day, Max, on Facebook about a new product, a new player on the field who guarantees you they can rebuild the keratin in the hair forever, permanently. Now,
that's a long time.
That's a long time. Forever is a long time. So I've not used the product, but I've read the ingredient deck. And in the ingredient deck alone would not scare me, but make me very nervous about the ingredients that they're using in this product. Now, I've not used it. Some people may use it. They may really, truly love it. But when you start using things like acrylites in your ingredient deck, acrylites, Google them, please. Please Google the acrylites, and you will find that they are used in creating artificial nails. They are used as an adhesive. Now, they're known as a liquid plastic. That's what they're known as. So it's kind of important that we understand. There's no doubt in my mind that if you're using liquid plastic, you could rebond the hair. I guarantee you could do that. Now, what the hair would be like, how the hair would respond, that's a couple of different things you have to be concerned about.
Sure.
And so those are the things that I think are important. That misinformation, it just drives me insane, drives me crazy because it confuses people.
Yeah. And I mean, just to take it back to the original statement that we kind of started us on this bit, that ammonia is irrelevant to lift. To the process. Or lift is, and then lift is not in the tube. I think the real sort of true info is alkalinity is in the tube. It's the combination of the alkalizer and the developer that creates the liberation of oxygen from the developer.
Yes.
And it is the liberation of it's oxygen that lightens the hair.
Right. Right.
Which, I think that a lot of people, it's not just ammonia, it's not just peroxide, it's the combination of the two that creates this, basically like an offshoot, this release of oxygen, hence the name oxidation, you guys.
What a concept.
I know, right?
Clue. Yeah.
But, I didn't get this, until I really started to do my own sort of deep dive into the whole thing.
Absolutely.
So
I think our final on this before we go to a quick break is to do your due diligence, do your research, understand when the story sounds too good to be true. More than likely it is. More than likely it's a marketing story. There's nothing wrong with creating a marketing story. Don't get me wrong. We also become very loyal to our brand. And anytime somebody says anything that I might think, oh, you're talking about my brand? Oh, I hate you. Stop. It's all hair color is pretty much the same. Listen, shampoo is soap in a bottle. Get over it for just a minute and just try to come to balance, come to stabilize and understand It's about understanding the tools that we're working with. We're not trying to, slam anybody, but we want you to be smarter. The smarter you are, the more successful you will be. Now, if you think brand manufacturers give a little bit of misinformation, wait till we come back and you're going to see what happens when educators give information that is skewed as well. So have a great break. We'll see you in a minute. Bye. All right, welcome back, everybody. Listen, this is one of our very favorite segments. We like to call it nicely Lost in Translation, or what we say around here is say what? So what we've done is we've taken an educator that teaches online, but throughout social media, does live classes. So these are actually pretty well-known influencers in our industry, and we've been able to capture some of their information, and we just want you to hear what they're actually saying, because people don't always believe what we say. So we have the audio and we have altered the voice so you won't be able to recognize this person, but we just want you to hear that information, and then we'd like to give you our spin on it, what the missing pieces are that we think can either, by leaving them out, can either mislead somebody, or by putting them in your own terms instead of being actual about what's happening, that can mislead people as well. So with that being said, Max, anything you want to say before we start this?
Brace yourselves.
Yeah, like I said the other day, buckle up, Buttercup. It might be a little bit of a bumpy ride. So I want you to understand that these people charge large fees for their education. This is not free stuff that they're just throwing out there to you. Okay? This is actual information that you pay for. Okay? Very important that you remember that. So we're going to go to sound clip number 1. We're going to try, there's actually 4 of these different pieces. We're going to try and get through them if we can in this segment. If we cannot, we'll save them for another upcoming episode. I think the say what part of our program is really a fun part to deal with, because we're actually bringing those words into our program so you can actually hear what they're saying. Okay, so don't get shocked. Here we go with piece number 1.
Ammonia always exposes more warmth than oil-based colors. What happens is it blows open the cuticle and exposes the melanin, right? And then afterwards, the color shuts down the cuticle a little bit, not quite all the way. It actually takes up to 2 weeks for the cuticle to completely shut. So after you do a color and it still seems warm, sometimes, when you say, oh, just keep washing it, keep washing it, and hopefully it comes back down, that is the cuticle shutting. That's why it does that. It doesn't mean that there's warmth rinsing out or, whatever is going on. But I always laugh when people call me, my hair is real warm, and people are like, just wash it 25 more times, and hopefully that'll calm down. So the way that...
All right. Just give me a moment. Max, how are you doing?
Well...
Yeah, my eyes would dilate as well. All right, so let's break this down.
Oof, where do we want to start?
So first of all, I believe if you're going to talk about the chemical process, that you need to be careful of the words you use when you're trying to articulate that. Blows open the cuticle. Now, you might be able to get away with that in America because we're okay with colloquialisms and little sayings. But if you take people from another country and they speak English and they hear you say, blows open the cuticle, they take that literally. And ammonia does not blow open the cuticle. Ammonia swells the
And-
cuticle, right? It doesn't blow the cuticle open, and it's an essential part of the color process. So it's swelling the cuticle so that the dye intermediates can be delivered to the cortex. That's where the dye intermediates become actual hair color molecules. So I just have that issue with the way it's presented. Remember, as an educator and as a trainer, you have to think about that. Words are powerful. You've heard me say this over and over. We send in words, we receive in pictures. So when you say to me, blows open the cuticle, holy criminy. I don't want to use anything with ammonia. It's going to blow open the cuticle. The second part of that I really love. I don't know where this comes from. It takes 2 weeks for the cuticle to close. Well, then forget about getting your color done. Because if you have to wait 2 weeks and you're going to shampoo every day and you're going to be out in the sun, that color is not going to stay in your hair. Oh my God. I think that I lost Max. So we're going to try and gain Max back here in just a minute. We'll see what happens. So hang with me for just a little bit. We'll take you to another short break, and we'll be back with you very, very soon. So hang with me, guys. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. I think the dark people of the manufacturers are coming after us. So hang with us. Wait, he is back. Okay, great. Hey, Max, you're back. Okay, Max. Well, he's supposed to be back. We'll see. And hang with us. We'll be. Whoop, there he is. Hey, Max, how are you? I'm still on. We're still recording. What happened? Oh, your pathway's empty. Where are you, dude? Max. Okay, we're gonna. What happened?
Man, we're pulling in the bad juju today.
So we're still recording. So I'll have to
good.
edit some of this out, or maybe I'll leave it in. It depends on whether or not it looks funny. But welcome back, dude. Did they come and grab you? It's like you just checked out on me.
I feel like there's an alien abduction that could possibly happen.
Okay, so we were talking about the cuticle
somebody's
layer.
onto us.
Yeah. So that's nonsense. That's rubbish.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody wants their cuticle layer blown open, by the way.
Not blown open at all?
Just,
or do they want to wait for 2 weeks for the cuticle to close? So I have 2 words for you. Stop it. Stop listening to this stuff.
right.
Okay? Look, if you do a good post-oxidation process, you will constrict that cuticle before they leave the salon. And that's the whole purpose of a color process, is that you have to follow the post-oxidation steps so that you keep that hair as close to its optimum pH as possible. Is it possible that the hair could be slightly swollen as it leaves the salon? It's possible if you're not following the right protocol. If you just shampoo them once, if you just do one acidifying treatment on them, yeah, that cuticle is probably still swollen. You're probably going to lose some of those dye intermediates that are partially developed. You're going to lose some of those out of the cuticle layer. But if you do a proper post-oxidation, which is rinse till the hair rinse until the water runs clear, then you spray an acidifying rinse on the hair to stop or slow down any residual oxidation that is left in the hair. Remember, water itself is going to allow some of that oxidation to stop. It's going to slow it down. But if you spray an acidifying rinse, a low pH of 3.5, that will stop it even more. Then you're going to shampoo with a low pH shampoo, not once, but twice. Then you're going to use an acidifying conditioner. And then guess what? You're going to use your acidifying spray again one more time, just in case you missed anything. That is post-oxidation protocol to make sure the hair leaves the salon in the best condition possible. Removes any residual dyes that are partially developed in the cuticle layer, and the hair is in a healthier state. So can you see how someone sitting in that class for the first time would say, oh my God, I'm afraid of ammonia, and it's going to take 2 weeks for the pH of your hair or for the cuticle to close in your hair. That's just
Right.
insanity, isn't it?
Yeah. And just to add one thing to post-oxidation, the hair feels so good
Yes.
when you really do a thorough post-oxidation protocol. It's like night and day. Takes a
Absolutely.
little extra time, but it's completely worth it.
Yes. Yeah. So hopefully you got something out of that. So you ready to move on to the next one, Max?
Sure.
All right,
Are we-
great. Are we what?
Are we covering anything else in that previous one?
Is there something else you see that you heard that you want to talk about?
Oh, well, just ammonia-bearing colors release more warmth than oil-based colors.
Oh, no, we didn't get to that part yet.
No.
You're ahead of me, Bubba. Hold on one second.
Oh, I thought she said it already.
Did she say it? Let's back it up.
When people call and my hair is real warm, and people are like, just wash it 25 more times, and hopefully that'll calm down. So the way that oil-based colors work are they
you're
only
right.
open the cuticle about 20%, and it's actually a forced entry. So you're taking a hydrogen peroxide, mixing it with an oil, which is water and oil, and it's creating a chemical reaction that forces into the cuticle. So this is not going to expose as much melanin. That's why I don't know if any of you have been trained in oil-based color. No, I was trained.
All right, Max. So they're going to go on to say they were trained in ANOA, which is kind of funny because you were trained in ANOA.
I launched ANOA.
Okay, so maybe you can clear that whole story up. So what they're saying, what I heard her say, is ammonia-based color exposes more warmth than oil-based.
Yeah, not true. It's ANOA is permanent hair color. The only difference is the alkalizer is monoethanolamine. So, it will definitely expose warmth in hair. So that's the first thing. I mean, forced entry, that just sounds like someone's trying to break into somebody's house.
I know.
The whole kind of idea or marketing concept behind having an oil-based hair color was that the way that we explained it in classes was that the actual colorants or dye intermediates themselves were attracted to water. So they like to stay in water, so that in traditional permanent hair color, not everything made it into the hair.
Right.
And the oil base of ANOA, essentially, there was still water in ANOA as well, but the oil and the water kind of repelled one another, and it propelled the colorants deeper into the hair. I don't know if that's actually true.
It's a great story. It sounds like Star Trek. It
right?
propels the Enterprise into the space, into the unknown.
And again, the whole idea behind it was that it was supposed to optimize the alkalizer,
right?
Which was not ammonia.
Right.
And if the thing about it is, any chemist will tell you ammonia is the best alkalizer for permanent hair color.
Right.
Because it's a free alkali.
Yep.
And monoethanolamine
is a fixed.
And fixed alkali. So like in the shades where you want even more alkalinity, it's like you have to add so much monoethanolamine, it basically becomes more caustic than ammonia.
Right. Right, because ammonia actually dissipates out of the solution in most hair colors anyway. It's used as a catalyst to start the action. So
Right.
it's really a clean way of doing color. But because people have this whole issue about being non-ammoniated, it's forced the manufacturers into using other alkymenes. And there's a small group of alkymenes that you really have to choose from.
Right.
And MEA is the closest thing to ammonia that there is. And so that's why they would choose to use that. But yeah, it's the story. And that's my biggest issue with a lot of these is that it's a hair color. Great. It works great. It makes the hair shiny. Great. That's all wonderful.
Yeah.
But don't oversell it.
Right.
Don't oversell it, because then I'm expecting euphoria when I use it.
Well, and that was the thing. Like when we first launched it, they were like, it's basically zero damage, because it's like
No such
using
thing.
a demi-permanent hair color.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like when you really learn the chemistry and science behind coloring products,
Right.
I mean, there's always a little damage that's done.
The
So
only
even
way-
demi,
The only way you can get a dye intermediate into the hair is by making room for it.
right?
In order to make room for it, you must remove a space. You must make a space.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like being at the meeting and all the chairs are together and you want to put another chair in. You're going to have to remove a chair to
Right.
make room for that new chair. So craziness. All right. So let's go on to the next one.
Both available is kind of important, and sometimes not both are not available. And what I do now is
That's that part you were supposed to cut out.
Yeah.
Be a chocolatey brunette now. It's
There we go.
a level 8 gold. They're like, I want to be a chocolatey brunette now. It's fall. I want to change what's going on. Do you guys think you should fill? Let's say they were going from a level 8 to a level 5.
Now, I want you all to understand, this is the energy level where this educator is staying. Can you see where it's getting a little monotone? Where I'm going to check out, especially if I'm ADD. If I'm ADD, I've already checked out. I'm already wondering what's for lunch.
You think you should fill?
Do you think you should fill?
And I'm going to disagree with you. And
Of
this
course.
is why. When you are filling, what you do is you're putting copper onto this person's head or some form of warmth, right? So then you rinse them in their Ronald McDonald. And then and then you say, now we have to formulate a color to cut out all that warmth, right? So now we have to put ash on the red that you just put on. So you're making more of a mess for yourself. Because if you were to put something that was not ash, what would happen? It would still be very warm. Let's say they just want to be chocolate. Now you have copper underlying it as a dominant pigment.
That was the end of that piece. All right. So look, let's talk about filling the hair. Oh my God. Okay, so first of all, today in 2021, when we fill hair, we are not filling hair the way we did in 1988. Completely different. Today, most of us work with balanced hair colors. That means that every hair color you have in your salon has 3 things in it in most cases. It has background, it has tone, and it has reflat. Here's the good news about background. Background has a balance, the right balance of blue, red, and yellow in it. You don't have to add, yellow, then red, then blue. You don't have to put put in the missing underlying pigment. That's what we were always taught years ago when we used filler-all shampoos and things of that sort, where we're using direct dyes to fill the hair. Today, that's unnecessary. If I'm trying to make a level 5 chocolate brown, I can literally fill the hair with a level 6 N, if you will, in my demi-permanent line because it has a perfect balance of blue, red, and yellow in its background. Now, naturally, if I'm trying to make a chocolate, that to me, chocolate is a warm color. So I don't know what this person's talking about when they say they're afraid of warmth, but I wouldn't be filling with copper to make chocolate. I could fill with a warm level 6, maybe a 6 golden red, or maybe a 6, a 6 natural, or a 6 gold. There's so many different variations that you could use to fill, and you don't have to worry about coloring, defeating the underlying pigment that you're replacing. That's where most people run into problems in color correction classes, because you were told to fill and make sure your fill was a half a level to a level lighter. You remember that, all of you, and replace the missing underlying pigment. And so if you were trying to tint somebody back to a level 6 dark blonde, most people would say you fill with a level 7 and you put in orange. No, you don't. If I'm trying to make a level 6 ash blonde, I need to fill with a level 7 warm. Guess what? Yellow is warm. Gold is warm. Brown is warm.
Yeah.
I have all these choices, and I don't have to go anywhere near red or red orange or copper. And so it's easy peasy to make my level 6 ash blonde. So again, here's a situation where the whole scenario is set up as a false narrative. Now listen to what their recommendation is. Max, you want to comment on this before we go to the next piece?
I mean, again, it's just like, what you're doing when you're filling is you're rebuilding a foundation.
Yes.
For your target color to sit on. But just because you're dealing with porous hair doesn't mean you always have to grab bright copper. That's such an old school way of approaching it.
Exactly.
And it's like, like you said, usually like a warm gold will do it.
Right.
And if in the case that the hair is like super porous and super blown out, maybe a gold with a little, secondary reflect of copper.
Exactly.
Just to balance it out, And that's the beauty of filling, because after you do that first application, the hair is going to tell you, you're going to see it, and either it's going to look decent or it's going to look hollow. And then how to adjust your next, sort of layer.
Exactly. And, it's one of the principles of color is that it's self-evident. It will reveal itself to you. Here we go.
So what I do is I build my filler right into my formula. And I'll explain a little bit when we get to some of the mannequins on how to do that, but you can build your filler right in. So 9 times out of 10, you're gonna use a demi-permanent, correct, if you're going darker? And just make like a quarter of your formula your filler, or even less than that. And what will happen is that little part is gonna take that muddiness away. And when you're really going to a 5 or a 4, you don't need all that extra warmth underneath. If they were like, I want to be flaming red, yes, of course, you need to put some copper in there. You need to fill that, okay?
All right. So first of all, filling is a separate service from coloring the hair.
Right.
Filling is usually done on hair that is compromised. So if you are putting your filler in with your color, why you would do that, I have no idea. How can you measure the success of your fill? So filling should be a separate process. Some people like to swing for the fence, and they like to try to do it all at once because they don't want to, they want it to happen right away. But I say, fill first, measure your success, and then go over it with your color. That's something I think is very, very important, rather than trying to always shortcut yourself, because Some of you have done that. Some of you have swung for the fence. You go, I think I can do it without filling the hair. And then the color comes out flat. Why? Because remember, you don't have that foundation. As Max was saying, part of that, especially in color correction, is building back that foundation. And the best way to do that is by separating those two services completely. Max, anything you heard there that you want to comment on?
I mean, again, just to take it like one step further, if you are really going to fill the hair, more than likely you are working on sensitized hair.
Yes.
Now, in days of old, when nights were bold, I have heard of, like in a color class, someone says, if the hair is in good condition and you want to take it a little darker and you just want to make sure that your formula doesn't get too flat, you would do 3/4 of your target shade and then 1/4 of something 1 to 2 levels lighter and warmer. It's like, or like with low lighting or so,
Right.
something like that. But again, you were already considering the fabric that you were working on is not sensitized.
Right. And that's very rare.
And, it's like you can do it on hair that is sensitized. And yeah, maybe sometimes it does turn out. But the difference is because you don't have that foundation or that anchor in place, when the client starts to shampoo, the longevity of your end result is going to be really questionable.
Absolutely.
So it's like if you are working on hair that's been barbecued and you want to really make sure that your end result's going to stay and you're going to have longevity, then yeah, fill first, color, with your target shade second. And sometimes too, you have to make a third adjustment at the end.
Oh, sometimes you have to
based
fill
on the
twice.
fabric.
Sometimes you have to fill twice.
Yeah.
The law of color says
Or
when you're doing a tint
three
back
times.
and you're tinting someone back and it's more than 2 levels difference between the starting level and the target, and that hair has integrity issues, you're going to have to fill twice. You're not going to be able to fill once because you have to build in that support. And then one other thing that this person mentioned was the fact that, well, if we're going to go darker from lighter hair, we're going to use demi-permanent instead of permanent color. Stop it. Demi-permanent is permanent color. Certainly, I would choose demi-permanent to pre-pigmentize or fill the hair, because if the hair is compromised, it's already swollen. I don't really want to swell it any more than it already has been. But my final color may or may not be a, quote, demi-permanent color. It has nothing to do with that. Because to me, a demi-permanent color, if I want longevity, I'm not going to get the same amount of longevity. It will last pretty well, but it will not give me the same amount of longevity as a permanent color will, only because of the oxygen supply that I have to work with. 10 volume or 5 volume develops less dye intermediates in a window of time than 20 volume does. That's a fact. So as a result of that, I may pre-pigmentize with a demi, and I may go, my final color may be a permanent color. It all depends upon integrity of the hair. Okay, so Max, I'll tell you, that just wore me out listening to that. I am sorry. It just wore me out because, one, the cadence of that person's voice is so slow and methodical. I just don't know how people can stay engaged with them. Number two, the information is not accurate And number 3, which none of you saw, this person wasn't talking from off their mind, off their head. They weren't just speaking, they were reading from a manual. And people paid for this class. And people paid a lot of money for this class. And this group of people that are part of this group consider themselves experts. I love that. Expert. I'm an expert. How do you know? Nobody knows. You either believe them or you don't. So anyway, well, today has been an interesting journey, Max.
Oof.
But it's been fun.
Always, man.
And there's more stuff to come. There's more things to listen. We've got other things that we want to address in this program. Look, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. Our channel has grown over the last couple of weeks. Response to Rabbit Trails has been very good. So we thank you so much for that. We really try to make this program beneficial for you and something that will help you navigate your way through that pathway of success in the world of hair color. If you watch, you can also reach us on Instagram. You can find Max is at Max M Hair on IG. I am at Real Captain Color. We invite you to send us notes. If you're enjoying the program, please let us know. Tell your friends. We try to do at least one episode a week, and we try to cover a group of subjects. Sometimes it becomes a little repetitive because those subjects keep rolling around. If you look and see what's trending on social media, those are usually the things that we try to discuss and share in this program. We also invite you to come and check out our website, which is www.gurunation.net. On our website, we have an educational page. In that educational page, you'll see a lot of programs that we do online virtual classrooms right here on our educational platform. You can sign up for those classes. There's a variation of different class types. We just did a science program this last Monday. Tomorrow we have our formulation mashup, which is the second part of the foundations programs. So tomorrow we'll be doing some formulating, and it should be lots of fun. But anyway, we have a variation of programs. We also have some pre-recorded webinars where you can simply download those webinars and you can watch some of the educational programs that we've already pre-recorded for you. It gives you, on some of the subject content, it gives you like a 45-minute overview of the subject and kind of gives you some insights. And hopefully it kind of acts as a little bit of a inspiration for you to come and join us live on our virtual classroom. So we have that. We also have our gallery where it shows us some of the classes we've done, the actual Guru Nation on Location programs, hands-on programs that we've been doing across the country. Of course, with COVID, we're not doing that right now, so we don't know when we'll get back to doing that. And in our gallery, we have some pictures of some of the things that we've done. So come visit our website and drop us a note when you visit. If there's subjects that you think you would like Max and I to cover, please contact us and let us know. We would love to cover that content for you so you feel more confident about it. I know tons of you send me emails and text messages, as you do to Max, when some of these things start going viral. You say, what do you think of this? What do you recommend? And we try to stay neutral, brand neutral as much as we can. But we appreciate you sending us information that we might want to discuss and share. Our total goal has always been to help you become empowered, to help you discover your own genius. Because I believe there's a genius inside everyone. But sometimes we have to get in there and find that genius, and we have to become diligent. We have to take that education and apply it. And I think that will help us all become more successful. So it has been fun, Max. Once again, my friend, thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. And anything, last comments you want to share with everybody?
I mean, number one, you guys, thank you so much for watching and for the overwhelming response we've been getting from you guys. It's been really awesome.
It has
And,
been.
you know, we're just happy to do this, and we hope to see you in a virtual live program soon.
Hey, oh, that's right. I forgot to say that. Keep checking out. We are trying to put together right now a date for a Rabbit Trails Live. Now, if you want to
Right.
attend that Rabbit Trails Live, we'll be posting it. You'll need to go online and register. So we only have so many people that we can take. But Max and I are going to do live broadcast, and there you will be live with us on screen. You can ask us questions. All of that kind of thing can happen. So keep watching out for a Rabbit Trails Live coming your way soon. And don't forget to check out some of the upcoming classes that we have. So Max, the clock on the wall says, tick tock, tick tock. It is time for us to go our merry way. I wish you a happy day, my friend. And
You
I
too,
will
buddy.
see you soon. Everybody else, take care. From my heart to yours, I'm Captain Color. I'm out. You guys have a great day. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.